there was a very different identity that I needed in order to be a self-love coach, to show up as a self-love coach, and to accept money as a self-love coach and to ask for money doing that. And so what being in Magnetic Mastermind and Courage Driven Latina helped me with is it helped me see that I first needed to work on my identity of being a self-love coach, because in the beginning, when I first joined CDL, I didn't see myself as a coach.
Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erica Cruz. Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Chingona Revolution podcast. If you're listening on the day that we've released this, then today is the last day to apply for Magnetic Mastermind. Doors close on October 30th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. What in the world is Magnetic Mastermind? So Magnetic Mastermind is a 6-month spiritual business mastermind for women entrepreneurs and creators who want to manifest 7 dream opportunities in 6 months. Opportunities meaning projects, clients, speaking gigs, podcast interviews, Instagram Live, and media features, and anything else you desire, honestly. This mastermind is for you if you know that you were meant to land amazing opportunities or be fully booked, but you're not sure how to get there. You're already taking action, but you find yourself going into hustle and burning out, and you want to be able to take intentional action that feels good. It's also for you if you are purpose driven. So you do want to make money, but you also, and more importantly, you want to make an impact. You want to feel good about the content you're creating or the business you are running. It's for you if you have a lot of ideas and you're not sure exactly where to focus. And it's for you if you're overwhelmed with trying to hustle your way to success, but you're really ready to master the skill of manifesting. I want you to know that manifesting is not something that is just for people who are lucky. It's actually a step-by-step process that you can follow. There is a proven framework. So with a clear mission, with a manifestation marketing plan, and a community of badass women, all the things you get inside of Magnetic Mastermind, you are going to land that dream speaking engagement, become fully booked, go on the podcast tour, build the influence, and create massive impact. Inside Magnetic Mastermind, you are going to master our signature 5-step process that will help you manifest opportunities with ease. We have weekly coaching calls. We also have bi-weekly content creation co-working sessions. I also review your content. We have something called Magnetic Collabs, where I'm going to pair you up with somebody else in the mastermind so that you can grow your influence through community. I also provide coaching through Slack. So if you need coaching in between calls, I've got you covered. And there is also the possibility of being invited to an Instagram Live with me, or to even be featured on here on the Chingona Revolution podcast. Clients have done everything from had $70,000 weeks to manifesting dream opportunities, landing out of the country speaking engagements, as well as podcast interviews, sales inquiries, all of that by implementing the magnetic method framework. But again, the doors are closing on October 30th. So be sure to apply using the link down below if this sounds like something you are interested in. With that being said, let's get into today's podcast interview, which is with Jess Jasso, who is a self-love coach for women. And she was actually in the last round of Magnetic Mastermind. She's going to talk to us all about what self-love is, how she was able to implement manifestation into her self-love business, and what she's taking with her after the program, and how the skill of manifesting and learning the magnetic method has totally changed her life and is going to keep changing and influencing her business going forward. Let's get into it. Jess, welcome to Chingona Revolution podcast. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, yes. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Jess. I live in Austin, Texas. I'm 35 years old, a single dog mom, and I was raised by a single mother of three. My profession started in healthcare. I started as an executive assistant, and within 7 years was promoted to office manager and operations manager. And I realized after 7 years that that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. So now I'm pursuing being a self love coach, and I'm really excited to be doing that now.
And how did you get into self-love? Because you've been studying it for a while. So, like, was there a moment in your life or a moment in which you saw other people needed self-love? Like, what inspired that interest in self-love?
So, 7 years ago was when I decided that I wanted to leave my profession because it wasn't bringing fulfillment to me. And I asked myself the question, if you were to make 3 times as much income here, would you be happy here? And my answer was no. And so at that same time, I was also in a relationship with someone that I thought I wanted to marry. He was exactly the person that I envisioned being my husband. And I realized that that also wasn't what I wanted for my life. So I ended my relationship and I left my job at the same time. And I started asking myself, who am I? What brings me happiness? And that's how the journey started. That's what brought me to learn and discover about self love and personal development. And that led me on my own deep journey of healing childhood trauma and healing my relationships with both of my parents. And from there, I started leading women's workshops where I led women through self-love activities. And I just wanted to create a community of women here in Austin that was around self-love and personal development. So that's how it started.
Wow. You completely changed your life within a week.
It was the hardest time of my life. It really was. I went through like a deep depression for like the first month. But on the other side of that, through all the work I did, there was a lot of light on the other side of it.
Yeah. I mean, before we started recording, you mentioned identity. And I'm like, that is literally like an identity 180, right? It was almost like that version of Jess died and you had a new version of Jess. It
That's
was an identity death.
exactly Yeah, that's exactly right. So at the beginning of this journey, when I left that job and I went from making 6 figures to making $0 and my title went from operations manager to not having a job, that that really like tore me apart. Because when I went to networking events, I kept thinking like, what am I going to say? Like I didn't feel that I was worthy of being there. So the identity was a big part of my self love journey.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like when we become coaches, it's typically because we've had to really embody the thing that we're coaching on. And that time in your life required you to really have your back and have a lot of self love.
Mhm.
So for people that are listening, and because we hear the word self-love all the time, but what is self-love? And what have you seen in some of your clients who need self-love? If you could give us just some, like, it could be from your life or clients' life, some practical examples. So from your perspective, what is self-love? And then how does it show up in people's lives whenever they lack self-love? What happens?
So for me, there's so much around self love, and there are different ways that self love shows up in our daily lives. So I could explain self love in terms of, there's our physical self love. Like, how can we show our physical body love? Like, in what ways can I make myself feel beautiful, like externally? In what ways can I show love to my body and accept the insecurities that I have of my own body? That's an example of physical self love. For emotional self love, it's becoming aware of, for example, when you have a trigger or a moment of frustration with your parent or significant other, first becoming aware of where you feel that in your body so that you can then understand quicker, like when you are triggered, and ask yourself, like, what is causing this? But also allowing yourself to feel the emotion that is coming, instead of just like pushing it away and avoiding it, which a lot of people tend to do that with alcohol and with other substances, like binge watching TV shows. And most of what I see in clients is that in our day to day, they are avoiding their feelings and emotions. And that's the opposite of what we should be doing. So, one of the first steps of emotional self love would be acknowledging, becoming aware of what they're feeling, acknowledging it, letting them feel the emotion, and also expressing the emotion alone, of course, not like by screaming at someone. So that's an example of emotional self love. Another would be spiritual self love, which for me is meditation and practicing gratitude and doing things that will higher my vibration and get me
Mhm.
into like a peaceful, grounded state. That's something that I personally love doing every day because it helps me get into a better mindset. And I've noticed that as I have practiced self love, as I feel more positive in my body and mind and soul, I tend to attract positive people around me, just like little interactions, even just going to the grocery store. I'll notice like the day that I practice these things, I'll attract people around me that are really kind and just like start having conversation with me. And then afterwards, I hop in my car and I'm like, oh, wow, that was really awesome. It's definitely
I
because
love
the
that.
practice I did this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I love that you gave us that there's a few examples and the different types of self love. And by the way, you're killing it. Jess had asked me, for those of you listening, had asked me for questions. And I usually don't give people questions because I know myself and I never stick to questions. So I gave her questions and now I've asked her everything that was not on the questionnaire. Don't worry, we'll get to them, Jess. But the reason I asked this is because it's important to ensure we're all on the same page around self-love, because before working with you, I thought, before you were in my programs, I thought of self-love as just like, oh, I love how I look in this outfit. Or, and you mentioned physical self-love, right? So that's an aspect of it. But what you're getting at is so much more, it's so much more profound, right? It's like loving yourself despite having emotions. And, because you have emotions, almost, because we're all human and we're all going to have those emotions. So I feel like, in summary, what you help people do is you help them see themselves and accept themselves rather than try to change themselves. And that is the most powerful thing that a person can do. So even through the, emotional distress, or even like your example, right, of being in a six-figure job and then leaving that behind and going to these networking events and having to love this new version of yourself, that is the definition of self-love. So that's why I think the work you do is so important.
Exactly. There's one more thing I would like to add to that, and
Yeah.
that is another part of self love is honoring ourselves and speaking up when we feel called to speak up. So, for example, even just like when it comes to dating, I've been single for many years, and the approach to dating is very different when you are practicing self love because you are much more intentional with it. You are selecting people differently. You're looking more at your partner's values. And if you go on a date and you don't want to see that person for a second date, you communicate to them because that's you living with integrity instead of just ghosting. And I've seen that as I do that, I don't attract ghosting because I'm communicating in a way that makes me feel proud of myself. So, another part of self love is doing things that make us feel good about ourselves, make us feel proud of ourselves. And that's another example of another way that we can show our self love.
That is beautiful. See, you killed it. I actually prefer these responses because it's just, there's you don't really pre-plan, right? It just, we kind of go and flow. But I've had the honor of working with you not only in Courage Driven Latina, but also in Magnetic Mastermind. And you mentioned the practices that you do for spiritual self-love, which is things like meditation, things like practicing gratitude. And in the mastermind, we did something called abundance activation, right? Which is a month long of meditating and visualizing. And you manifested some pretty cool stuff. So, can you tell us about that experience participating in the abundance activation and also the things you manifested?
Honestly, I'm trying to remember all the things I manifested because there was so many things. Um, what
What a good
happened that
problem to have.
I'm trying to think what happened that month. One of the things I do remember is so I actually had two opportunities for free coaching. She's a coach for Latinx community, and she saw some of my Instagram posts on Instagram. She saw some of my reels and the videos that I was doing because I challenged myself to 30 days of posting. And after she saw those videos, she said that she would like to offer free coaching to me. So that was really awesome. And then a second was I saw a post on Facebook of someone that was doing 8 weeks of free coaching that was valued at like $5,000. And my first thought was, you shouldn't do this. Maybe you're not ready for this. Um, but I went ahead and applied for it. And then he reached out and I received it. And so we did 8 weeks of coaching, and that was really awesome also. I had a podcast interview and I told my story of childhood, and that was a really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful conversation. I went into depth on what self love is and shared a part of my more of like my childhood journey.
And you also manifested things from the TikTok shop, remember? I'm looking at, because you submitted the form. That's why I'm looking at it. And networking connections as well.
Yes. So I started posting on TikTok again. And then it was during the abundance activation that I saw something popped up on the TikTok that said, like, you're approved for TikTok shop. And I had no clue what that was. So I looked it up and I saw that I could receive free items and well, they would ship the item to my house. I would create a video on it. Um, and then I could keep the item, and I thought that was really cool because that's never happened to me before. So I got some free mushroom coffee. I received some self-love journals. I received a book. I received, like, this bubble blaster thing for my nephew. I
Oh, I love
received
it.
several things, and that was really exciting.
So, how was the abundance activation for you? How was that month?
It felt incredible. I did that, meditation that you sent to us to do every day. I did it for over 30 days. I was committed to it, and my roommate, best friend, joined me, and so we would do it every morning together, and sometimes I would do it twice. And I just felt so peaceful after doing the meditation, and just it brought me into a state of gratitude. I also felt like I was able to get more done each day than normal, like, there was more time in the day, and I also feel like it helped with a part of my identity, with, like, identifying more as a coach and feeling more of my value, like, my experience of self-love and being able to help my clients with that. It made me feel
Mhm.
more like, you are worthy of this. Of course you are worthy of this. Like, you've been working on this for many years. Like, it made me feel more abundant in self-love. And I remember in one of our meetings, I told you that I felt more beautiful. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with my skin. I felt like it was glowing. So yeah.
No, that doesn't feel crazy to me, but the reason I specifically asked you this question is because one of the objections I hear around meditation is I don't have time for that. I need to get things done, or I'm not just going to sit around and like close my eyes. But you said I feel like I get more done. And I think the reason this happens is because especially that type of meditation that's really focused on visualizing what you want to do and how you want to get there, it's almost like I actually talked about this on the webinar. It's almost like putting in the address into the GPS and then driving. rather than getting into your car, not really sure where you're going, and you're just going there fast and you're going to all these different directions. So the meditation and visualization at the beginning of the day was almost like you setting the intention of where it is that you want to go and what it is that you want to get done in that day. So even though it is 20 minutes of your day, you end up utilizing the rest of the time so much better.
Exactly. Yeah. I noticed that I felt more grounded and just like in little everyday situations, I feel like I showed up better.
Amazing. So let's talk about landing your first paid client for self love. And obviously, you were already showing up, you were already creating content whenever you came to Magnetic Mastermind, and you had already made money, but you had made money in different ways. And self love coaching was the goal. And not only did you land your first paid client, but your first paid client also re signed. And I guess I'm curious about what was the biggest shift for you in getting from like this idea of getting a client to actually landing the client, the implementation of it. And how do you think that Magnetic Mastermind played a role in helping you make that happen?
Throughout this journey of starting my business, in the past, I was leading workshops and I was leading those workshops for free. Then I was putting together events and charging for those events. And so going from being or identifying myself as a workshop facilitator or someone who leads self love events, I felt that there was a very different identity that I needed in order to be a self love coach, to show up as a self love coach, and to accept money as a self love coach and to ask for money doing that. And so, what being in Magnetic Mastermind and Courage Driven Latina helped me with is it helped me see that I first needed to work on my identity of being a self love coach because in the beginning, when I first joined CDL, I didn't see myself as a coach. So that was my first step. And so we decided together that I would offer five weeks of coaching to five people. And I put the post on my social media and I was like shocked because it was within 2 days I received five DMs of people that were interested. And I was like, oh
So
my
you got
gosh.
the exact number of people you were looking for?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't know that little detail. Wow.
Yeah. So that happened, and then so I did the coaching for 5 weeks for free, and that is what helped me. That's what, like 15 sessions, if I'm doing my math right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that helped me to feel like, "Oh, I do know what I'm doing." It reaffirmed that. So after that is when, we worked together on what I would charge and how many weeks it would be for, and what I discovered on that step of what my mistake was I wanted to charge a certain amount, but I didn't feel fully worthy of that amount. So when I went to an amount that I felt more worthy of, that was when the client came. And it was extremely exciting to have my first client. I celebrated with my best friend. And yeah, it's been really exciting.
The doors to Magnetic Mastermind are open, but they are closing soon. Very, very soon. They close on October 30th. So if this podcast is resonating with you and you are ready to stop wishing and start manifesting, join us inside of Magnetic Mastermind. It is a 6-month spiritual business mastermind for women entrepreneurs and creators who are ready to manifest 7 dream opportunities in 6 months using my proven magnetic method process. It's for you if you are a purpose driven entrepreneur or creator and you know that you want to make money, but you also, and more importantly, want to make an impact. You have many ideas, but you're unsure where to focus. And you know that you were meant to land amazing opportunities or be fully booked, but you just don't know exactly how to get there. Inside of Magnetic Mastermind, you are going to learn my proven magnetic method framework that has helped clients attract clients, projects, podcast interviews, $70,000 weeks, out of the country speaking engagements, and so much more. Inside of Magnetic Mastermind, you get weekly live coaching calls. We also do bi-weekly content co-working sessions. I also review your content for you. And we have a new feature called Magnetic Collabs, which allows you to collaborate with other people inside of the mastermind so that you can grow your influence and make more impact through the power of community. There's also Slack coaching, so you can get coaching in between the calls. And then there's also the possibility of exclusive invites for Instagram lives with me, or even to be featured on Chingona at Revolution podcast. If you are ready to master the skill of manifesting, which will transform your life and your business, not just for the 6 months of the mastermind, but for the rest of your life, then apply by scheduling a consult call using the link down below. Again, the doors are closing on October 30th. If this is something you're interested in doing, take action right now, because the doors will not open until middle of next year. So if you want to make 2025 your year, the actions you take right now are going to dictate your 2025. All right, I cannot wait to work with you and see you inside. Let's get back to the episode. Yeah. And not only did you land this client, but this client you finished, and then the client resigned. So how has
Yeah.
that felt to support somebody through self-love coaching? Like, how do you feel about your identity as a coach now?
So I actually, at the end of our 4th session, I didn't even invite her to keep working with me, because there was a part of me that thought, "Well, if she wants to, she'll mention it." Like, I didn't wanna I was worried about being pushy. And on the 4th session, she asked me, "Can I continue working with you?" And I was just kind of like, "Oh, yeah, of course. I would love to." And that's how it happened, and I feel like it reaffirmed, like, it helped me with the belief of there are people out there that actually do want this, and you are
Yeah.
bringing value to this person. So if you're bringing value to her, of course you can bring value to other people.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the work you do after? Because I mean, I think that the complimentary clients, that was more for you, right? That was more for you to build your identity, build your belief, see that you could help people. But now that you've worked with a paid client who's not only worked with you once, but also re-signed, what, yeah, how do you feel about the impact you're making?
Yeah, so another thing I discovered when I was doing the free coaching is I didn't feel like I was showing up fully authentically. And so I learned that through the process of offering the free coaching.
Hmm.
So by the time that I had the paid client, I feel like I was able to show up differently in a more powerful way. And I feel like the sessions that we had have been very powerful. I think another reason why it feels so, like, powerful to me is this person committed to paying a certain amount to work with me, and because she paid me, it also makes me feel more like I wanna put even more work into this,
Yeah.
into planning her, like, helping her with her self-love journey, and
Hmm.
so these paid sessions have been, like, so much more powerful than the free sessions. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, when people pay money, they pay attention, right? And sometimes we're like, "Oh, I just wanna help people." So, like, how has that shifted your mindset around charging people? How do you feel now? Because at the beginning, you were just doing your free workshops, and then you didn't have a problem offering the free coaching, but now that you've had a paid client and complimentary clients, how do you feel about charging people?
So now I don't feel, that I would wanna continue offering free coaching. I do feel that I am worthy of charging, but
Mhm.
at this point, I strongly believe and feel that I will attract someone who is wanting to and willing to pay the amount that I'm wanting to charge. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I am feeling more confident, and I'm excited to land my first four-figure client.
I'm excited for you. It's not a matter of if, but when.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So tell me of this isn't on the list of questions, but this one should be easy for you to answer. What was your favorite part of the mastermind? And we're still in it, right? It's not even over yet, but what has been your favorite part of the mastermind, either like an aha moment or a tool or something that you think you're going to keep taking with you?
Well, one is the abundance activation. I I plan to continue using that. That was one of my absolute favorites. I had never heard of the meditation before, and it was really powerful. So I plan to continue that. Another would be just like the community that was built in Magnetic Mastermind. I do plan to stay in touch with these women and to collaborate with them in the future. So that, of course, is another main thing that I love about the mastermind is I love community, and these women have all been very supportive, like very encouraging. Some of them have met with me separately to just like give me encouragement and support to help me with something that I need help with. So the community of people that you attract into this magnetic mastermind is magical to me. And of course, like the workshops that we have each month are very helpful. I love attending workshops, and so the fact that you also are teaching us things throughout this whole thing is one of my favorite things.
You
Yeah,
do love learning. So
I
the
do.
workshops aspect makes sense. I want to go back to community because you had mentioned that the kickoff event was incredible for you. And that's when you all met for the first time. And can you share what it was like to be in the same physical room or virtual room as the other magnetic mastermind participants? Because this could have been like a one-on-one experience with you and I, but like I think the fact that it was a group and community gave it another element. So tell me about I that's kind of like two separate questions there. So tell me about what it was like to meet everybody at the kickoff event. And then if you can tell me, start with that one and then I'll ask you the second
Yeah,
one so I don't
okay.
confuse you.
There's one thing before that I'd like to mention. A lot of the women that were there, I'd say most of them were from like the California area, and I was coming from Austin, Texas. So the first thing for me was making that choice to fly over there to like for something that was for my personal and professional development, something that I was doing for my business. Like I've traveled for my job before, but I've never
Mhm.
traveled for something that was for my business. So that was like the first moment for me that was like, okay, you're going all in on this. Um, and just in doing that alone was something that was powerful, to decide to like spend money on the
Totally.
flight and hotel and everything. That was the first thing. The second was I did notice that I'm a little bit shy in groups of people that I don't know. So going to an event alone is a little bit scary, especially for someone who's more introverted. And there was a part of me that was like, are you ready to be in this space? And are you like, I don't wasn't feeling fully worthy of being in this space. With the women and also with you because I followed you for many years and just like being in the same space as you and all of these women was something that was very powerful for me. Um, Once I got there, I realized, of course, you're ready to be here. And of course, you're worthy of being here. Like, one, the first like point of this was I was a reminder to me of like, you need to put yourself in these situations because this is exactly what's going to make you grow. And
Mhm.
like I also realized once being in the room with the magnetic mastermind women was that like yeah, some of the women there have earned more income like annually through their business, but like we have similar challenges. So that was something that opened my eyes up and then also like through communicating and talking with them, I was also able to see like of course you belong here. Of course you're ready to be here. Like this is exactly where you need to be so that you can grow in your business and in your like personal development and everything. So the other part of it that I absolutely loved was that we had a photo shoot there.
We
Um,
did.
I am like I'm shy with taking photos in the camera, and I don't know the name of your photographer, but shout out to her. She was incredible in
Ariel.
Ariel in making me feel comfortable with taking photos with everyone. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I want to do it again.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm looking forward to the conference. I'm manifesting having an actual conference, but it probably won't happen this year. Maybe next year. So we'll see. Thank you for sharing that. So I think the worthiness piece that you mentioned is actually so common, and it takes a lot of courage to share that of feeling like almost this self-doubt or imposter syndrome of, do I belong here? Have I done enough to be here? Should I be in this room? And that comes up a lot, and it's come up on consult calls that I've had for Magnetic Mastermind, and just like, I think it even prevents people from applying. But the thing, I guess the message that I would like to get across is that everyone is inherently worthy, right? Regardless of accomplishments, regardless of bank account, regardless of if there's debt, or if you are in the middle of a heartbreak. Like, our worthiness does not go away, and putting yourself in rooms like this almost reminds you of your worthiness. And the fact that you felt called to the program and to working with me, obviously first in Courage Driven Latina and then Magnetic Mastermind, is already a sign that you belong there, because you wouldn't feel drawn to it if it wasn't the room that was for you. But I just want to thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people feel the same way.
Absolutely. There's something I would love to share on that.
Yeah.
I so I joined a Tony Robbins program in like, I think it was like February of this year, and that like gave me momentum to feel like you're ready, like things are going to start happening for you this year. And then I saw your post about the free like courage week of 4 days. I saw it
Yeah.
on TikTok. And when I saw that, I had a feeling in my gut that just like told me you have to be there, and it just felt very much aligned.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me at all, especially with your crazy manifestation powers. So I want to go back to the community piece. This is like the second part of the question that I was starting to ask. It was already a loaded question to begin with. So with having group programs, obviously you get access to other people. And as I was mentioning earlier, we could have worked together one on one, but it would have been a very different experience than you being in the group. Tell me what it was like being in a group with other women who were also being coached. Was it also beneficial for you to hear other people getting coached? Did you get to learn from other people's other people's experiences? What was that like?
So, yeah, being on the weekly calls and hearing what everyone's going through each week, and the issues that they're having, I do feel is very helpful, because when there's a week that I didn't have a specific question, was something that someone else would ask that I knew was something that I needed to hear. So that was very helpful. And also just like hearing the women also, like the other women chime in and giving like advice and like other perspectives, that was also helpful as well. Another thing that like another reason why I loved being on the calls each week was whenever you go from working in a full-time environment with coworkers to working by yourself at home alone, there's not really anyone that I can talk to get feedback on my social media posts or like my reels or what I'm working on, like my workshops and things. And so having the community of women, like there were a few times where I got on the call and some of the women would say like, "Hey Jess, I love that video you did." And that just helped give me a little bit of validation of like, okay, someone is watching your video, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Entrepreneurship can be so lonely, or even just being a content creator can be so lonely. So, just having a group of people who get it and who see you really makes the difference between wanting to give up and wanting to continue going. So, I really do think that community is a key element in doing hard shit.
To me, I feel like that's number one. You always hear that you will become, or you are most like the 5 people that you spend most time with. And being able to be in a virtual room with y'all each week, like that was just really inspiring for me. So
Yeah. So for somebody who's listening that might be considering joining the next round of Magnetic Mastermind, what advice would you give them about making the most out of the experience? Or like who would you recommend it to?
I would recommend it to anyone that wants to attract new opportunities into their life. I would recommend it to someone who feels like, I kind of want to join, but I'm not sure. I would encourage them to do it, because if they want to join but they're not sure, they're a little afraid, that's exactly why they need to join, because the reason that we are afraid is because this is what is going to bring us closer to our goals. Another thing I would share is, if you are someone who posts on social media, to challenge yourself. I challenged myself to the 30 days of posting. And honestly, I would like to do that again for the next 30 days before this cohort ends, because receiving feedback from you is extremely valuable. The workshop that you helped me put together on selling for the very first time ever was very scary for me, and it was really helpful. So I would say submitting content reviews to you on a regular basis, to absolutely take advantage of that. I personally did not take advantage of that, and I wish that I had, because I know it would
You
make
did
a
kind
big
of
difference.
on, we did
And
audits on your page during the calls.
yeah, in the beginning, but I do feel like I could have, of course, I feel like I could have done more.
We always feel that way at the end of things.
Yeah. For anyone who is wanting to pursue coaching for the first time, this was something that was perfect for me. There was a part of me that was unsure, since it was something new that I was pursuing. But I think, like, if you're not sure if your business is at a certain place, to join the program, to just reach out to you and have a call with you, so that they can ask questions and see if it's something that can help them.
I love it. Thank you. And what are you excited to manifest next? And how do you plan to use the magnetic method to reach your goals in the future?
I'm excited to manifest speaking opportunities, to talk about self-love on more podcasts, and to share my story of self-love. One of my dreams is to create a self-love journal and to have that sold in Target. So that's something that is on my mind, that I'm visualizing.
Love it.
Another would be, there's a goal I have on a certain amount of income I would like to reach next year with self-love clients. So that's another goal. And then lastly, I would say, because of the program, I do feel more worthy and ready of attracting my dream partner. And so that's another that I would love to manifest soon.
Yeah. And you could use the magnetic method framework for all of these, right? So, for those of you listening, if you have a podcast and you want to bring a self love expert to share her story and talk about self love, invite Jess. We will link her socials down below. And then you can always get started on the journal now, right? And we talked about this, using your journal on your clients so that you can test out what needs to change, what works, what doesn't. And then, as far as the partner goes, like, you've already set the intention, you know what you want. Now it's time to take the inspired action. So it's like, how do you implement the action part on there? Where do you want to meet people? And looking at it from this place of, this gets to be fun, instead of, I better meet my husband on the first date I go on.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you so much, Erica.
I'm so glad. It has been such an honor supporting you. It's still not over. We still get to keep going. But thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sharing. And I will see you on Tuesday.
Yes, I'll see you then.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com. That's Erica with a K, or you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.